Good evening, everyone. I feel honored to welcome each and everyone that are here this evening. Welcome to the teachers, the students, and the parents, and absolutely everyone that has taken the time to show up for this seminar entitled Tackling the Tough Truth About Learning Disabilities. We have some dynamic speakers that are ready to release information to us. I am sure that at the end of this seminar, we will all feel enriched with knowledge that will be beneficial, especially to the children that we have vested interest in. Once again, I welcome you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, at this time, I'll hand over to the host, Mr. Neil Williams, who will have a video presentation for us. Good evening.
Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to Tackling the Truths About Learning Disabilities. My name is Tini Williams and today I will be introducing to you our host for this evening. She is the wife to an awesome husband, Mr. Carl Stewart, who I know for sure is working on the back end for today's proceedings. She has been walking with the Lord for over 25 years and is an absolute lover of children and young adults. She currently teaches at the Yorton Primary School where she teaches HFLE. She has a bachelor's degree in guidance and counseling and a diploma in education. She never just stopped there. So she is certified in mentoring, events management, voice and speech, and radio announcing and broadcasting. Venice love God bad, as she'd usually say. She has a heart for young people and marriage, and so she has been serving in the youth department and the marriage and couples ministry. Out of this love and passion, she has started the seminars, uncovering the sheets, and youth to youth conversation that I also had the opportunity to be a part of. Venice is a vibrant MC and is so outgoing and just a lover of people and all things fun. She loves to play pool and she definitely loves hanging out with friends and family. So ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome this evening our host, none other than Cassia Venice Gordon Stewart.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are we doing? Yes, we are gathered here to tackle the tough truths about learning disabilities. And this is something that is very dear to my heart. And this is something that has been pressing on my heart. Because as a teacher, when you're inside the classroom, you see some things, you may not be able to put a finger on it to say that is wrong or this is wrong, but you know that something is a little bit off. And so this evening, we're here to help each other. We're having a conversation. This is not he said, she said, all of us will be joining in the conversation, and we have some awesome panelists. You're going to get to meet them in a bit. And so we are really here to have this conversation, to help each other, because we all need the help. Yes, we do. And so while doing a little research, I get to find out that our boys in Jamaica are the ones that are mostly affected by learning disabilities. No, it's sad. I have a soft spot for our boys, a very soft spot for our men, because I believe that, our men, we shortchange them sometime and we don't give them enough credit that they deserve. And so when I saw that, I was saddened, and it gave me the push to even do this more, because we need to save them, because they need saving. Let's help them before it gets worse. All right. And so the ministry, they have a lot of things going on, but in truth and in fact, I don't think we have enough to give. The number of students who are at risk, I don't think we have enough hands. And so, I hope that this too will get to somebody to make sure that we can do better by these children. You know, I was having a conversation with my cousin not too long ago, and he was saying it's sad that when we were growing up, teachers used to kill us with lick when you couldn't function, when you couldn't read, when you couldn't purely get as a young child because it seemed difficult. And I would imagine that if we should look back and really go back, some of these persons, as a Siobhan with some crying, look like Siobhan feel the stick. And so we do understand that most of us went through it, you know, that you couldn't understand a map. I remember I was not a slow child, I was a quick child. And I remember getting a slap by the time she said 15 twos, and I was supposed to say the 30 couldn't even come out my mouth good. And I got the whip over my back. And so we understand what was happening in the space, but did they? I don't think they did. And so some of us may have needed some other type of help, but they did not recognize it. They did not know it, and nobody taught them. So here we are educating each other. So guys, just sit back, hold on a minute, and let me introduce to you our panelists for this evening.
Jermica Mattis Marsh is an educator for the past 10 years. She has been instrumental in preparing students at the upper primary for standardized examinations. She has a diploma in business education, a bachelor's of education degree in literacy education, and a master's degree in special education. She believes all students are unique and there is a place for all of them. One just have to meet them where they are. She believes that with God, motivation, and instruction, we can at least move them up another level. Of all the areas Jermica has studied, she prefers literacy. She has 2 children and she's a past teacher of the Yorton Primary School and now a special educator at the Micro University College Care Center in St. Anne's Bay. Jermica Mattis Marsh.
This presenter is a classroom teacher at the Yorton Primary School. She is the director and the founder of the Stars Children's Theatre. She's the founder of the Stars Intervention Literacy School program. Also, she's a local instructional mentor at the Creative Language Based. She's an author as well as a publisher of several books. One of her books is Stories for Boys. This presenter is a compassionate and a dedicated individual who is ready to serve with consistency, dignity, and reliability. Please help me in welcoming Mrs. Shalane Harvey Davis.
Dr. Nordia Gordon was born and raised in Jamaica and now resides in the United States with her family. She is married to Mr. Benito Gordon, and together they have 2 smart, talented, and beautiful girls. She is a child of God and depends on her faith to guide her life. She is a special educator with over 20 years of teaching experience. Dr. Gordon received her Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology from Fordham University, her Master's in Education, Mercy College, at which time she received her teaching certification in Special Education. She completed her PhD in Education, Curriculum and Instruction at the University of Maryland. In her current position, she provides professional development to special educators on writing IEPs, completing assessments and interventions. As an educational consultant, she advocates for teacher education, ensuring teachers have the knowledge and expertise to teach all students, those with special education needs, and culturally and linguistically diverse learners. She provides parent education, informing parents about the education system and partnering with them to navigate the different areas within the system. She has a podcast, Pro Access to Education, where she provides information to empower teachers and parents to work successfully with students.
Moya Chinyan, an esteemed panelist or parent representative for this evening, brings to us a wealth of personal experiences, resilience, and a deep understanding of the tough truths faced by parents and their children. She has faced numerous hurdles on her journey to support her child with a learning disability. She understands firsthand the frustrations, heartaches, and difficult decisions that parents encounter when confronting the tough truths about their child's unique learning needs. Her story is a testament to resilience, perseverance, and unwavering love that propels parents to champion their children's right and provide them with the support they need to thrive. We are indeed happy to have her insight as we tackle the tough truths about learning disabilities in our discussion today. I present to you again Moya Chinlin, whose presence will undoubtedly enrich our understanding and ignite meaningful conversations on this crucial topic.
And there you have it, our panelists for this evening. Are you excited? Because I am. I know they have a wealth of knowledge. I see a hand being raised. It's not yet question time. Yes. So I'm going to ask for our panelists to open their cameras so you can see their faces, and let's have them get some spotlight so we can get the show on the road. Yes, one of my presenter is having an issue, technical problem, but she will just come in as soon as she can. So let's get the show on the road. So here we are, tackling the tough truths about learning disability. And the question is being asked though, what in God's name is learning disability? You know, what is it really and truly? Is it something that just stops me from learning altogether? Or is it something that I won't learn anything at all? What is a learning disability? And this one, listen, is a roundtable talk. I'm throwing it out there. Any of you guys want to just pop open and answer, go ahead first. I guess you all have your little different things to say about it. What do you think, what it is, all of that? I want to hear from you. So anybody can go first.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Are you all hearing me
Yes,
clearly?
we are loud and clear.
I guess that's a yes. So, from my research and my experience with students having learning disabilities, it is something that specifically refers to an umbrella term. Why it's an umbrella term? Because it has various disabilities coming under one umbrella, and it has to do with the brain. So we tend to talk about the neurological defects of the brain, so to speak, and in fact it stems over into the classroom as we speak, because from time to time we tend to label our students, and we label them without even having a background knowledge of what is happening really to these children. So that is the truth. And in fact, we are not at liberty to diagnose. I don't know how many of us know that teachers are not at liberty to diagnose a child because it has to go through a procedure. So when we talk about the learning disabilities, it has to do with challenges to the brain, so to speak. So that big word neurology, neurological, once you hear learning disabilities, that word comes in the sentence. Some deficiencies within your brain.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Jamaica. But oftentimes persons think that, their learning difficulty is the same thing as learning disability. Nordia, you want to tap into that one for us?
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I do want to add a little bit before going on, though, that when we talk about learning disability, we have about 13 disabilities, and learning disability is just one of the 13 that we just heard about when we talk about the factors affecting the brain, and those factors that affect the brain, it affect those psychological processes, and those processes that we rely on when we are teaching our kids. They are using different parts of the brain, different cognitive processes that tap into their reading, the math, and the writing. And when those cognitive processes are not functioning how they're supposed to function, that's when we get the issue where our students have what we term a specific learning disability. And that may go as far as, say, your reading. It may go where we talk about dyslexia, or with your math, or with your writing, right? And then when we have some of those students who are having problems learning, so it could be a situation where, in my case, it could be a cultural issue, right? It could be an environmental issue. So in situations such as those, that is not a learning disability. It could be, say, for example, I remember with my daughter when she was in school, and for whatever reason, like, I know you can read, but she wasn't reading the words. Come to find out, she needed glasses. So that is not a learning disability. So you're going to have situations where before making that determination, if a student has a learning disability, those are some of the things you want to rule out first, because you want to make sure it's not a vision, it's not hearing, it's not any of those, it's not a culture as far as the language, those things that can impact your access to education, but it's not a learning disability. So that's the difference. Whereas you have with a learning disability, you have the cognitive processes being impacted.
Okay, thank you. I can relate to that though. I had a student in grade 3. I see some hands being raised already. Guys, let's just get the surface off, and then we'll have a session for question and answer. Don't worry, we have 2 segments. And so you will get the opportunity to ask all the questions that you want to ask. So we're just getting the information out there, all these things out there, and then we can go right ahead into the questions. I know you're eager. And so, you'll get the time. Okay, don't worry. But I can relate to that. I had a student that teachers found him to be slow. But I realized that every time we had oral work and I read this thing to him, that boy would get 100. And I couldn't understand what was happening with him, because I'm saying he does not behave as if he has a learning disorder based on my little guidance thing that I did special, some pieces of special during my guidance training. And so I couldn't pinpoint it. So one day he went to reading class, and the reading teacher gave them some tests and stuff like that, because he was going to read in class, because, you had asked a question. Okay. All right. Got you. All right. So he went to reading class, and she was just giving them a little test. But then what was on his book was nothing that was on the board. And then I started paying attention. So sometimes these are the things happen and we have to start paying attention. My teachers out there, my parents out there, we have to start paying attention. So I started paying attention because I was just marking it wrong. When he did that test, I just mark it wrong. So now I started paying attention, and what I realized that he's not writing off the correct things off the board for real. So I called in his mom. Lo and behold, mommy wore glasses too, and not just like mine, the thick lens. And so I spoke to her, and she admitted to say, Miss, you know that his eyes need testing and all of that. Listen to me, man. You see, after that boy got his glasses, that boy was just sailing through school. And I was so proud of him. And, you know, it comforted my soul that I took the initiative to grab the parent by the hand and say, look here, we need to do something because something's going on. And I don't think he has a learning disability. So one of the things we need to do is pay attention. Let's pay attention. Let's put our radars up. All right. So now that we have an idea of what a learning disability, and we have marked off the list, learning difficulty, because as we explained just now, that was a learning difficulty. Yeah. And so we are going to my second question, though, is somebody asked, is it that I did something during my pregnancy? Why this happened to my child? Did I eat something bad? Because they have the questions and everybody wants to know, like, hey, something happened. Why my baby have brain dysfunction and all of this is happening? Did I eat something? Did I do something? Did I drink something? Did I smoke something? What? How do we come about with this, the kids being born or having these learning disabilities?
Well, as a parent to Venice, I can attest to that. I have that question on a very regular basis. But once you learn about, and as you mentioned earlier, as parents, we need to pay attention. Because if I wasn't paying attention to my son and the challenges that he was having, I would have overlooked and put it past. We put them in a box, and that's what I would have done to him as well. I mean, he's now been put in a box in different environments, different areas that he visits. But for me, I have to be that person that goes out and speak on his behalf to say, hey, miss, no, he's not. It's not that he's his behavior. They tend to say that these kids that they're bad behaving children. They don't pay attention. Them too fidgety. But it's deeper than that, because when COVID has done good and COVID has done bad, because it's in COVID when I started paying true attention to what was happening with my son. So he was, I noticed from a baby stage that he was, I tested his hearing because I thought that he wasn't hearing, but then I was confused because I would talk to him and he does not respond any at all. But hours later, he come and respond to what I was talking to him about prior to, and I'm like, okay, so you're hearing. Still not convinced. So when I took him to the doctor, I was like, Doc, I don't understand. I'll be talking to this baby. He's not responding to me. Sometimes he doesn't respond, and then another time he will respond. And the doctor did this, clap, and he jumped. The doctor said, no, he's fine. His hearing is fine. So I was like, so what is the situation behind him not responding immediately or even soon after, but yet later on or none at all? It's
so then I guess you started wondering what you did wrong in the belly.
All the time.
Oh, God.
All the time. Did I eat too much tuna? The doctor said, no tuna, but you can have one sandwich. And I would have one sandwich in the entire pregnancy, even though you could have one sandwich a week with the tuna. And you wonder, did that one mistake, did that one meal cause the issue? Is it something with me? Was something wrong with me from get-go that caused it? I had a loss from before. Is it because of the loss? Is it that I am not supposed to have a child? Those things, wow. you question yourself about that, because this kid, you would look at him and he looks very normal, but at the same time, there is so much that is going on with him. You see it in his behavior, you see it in his demeanor, you see it in his schoolwork, everything. So it does have you wonder. I never used to drink. I cut out drinking, but I used to drink before. And I'm like, is it because of all the alcohol that I consumed before I started considering pregnancy? Is that my diet wasn't on point? Yeah, you wonder a lot of things.
And I guess others out there can attest to it. All right, I see Siobhan putting up her hand. So I'm going to allow Siobhan to speak. Go ahead. Siobhan, you're prompt. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Hearing her speaking, I can attest to my even choosing now to study in the field at Michael. I recognize that like her experience. I had a brother going to school, and the teacher would not pay him any attention, and they would label him differently. But when my mother found out, he had a problem because he don't listen to anyone, and he have that anger problem. And I try for many years affect we as a family. So I understand what she's going through, and we could attest to it. It's no like studying in the field. Now I recognize that some of these things is that the teachers, previous teachers, were not taught how to teach students in this capacity, and then it affected them. And many of them could have done much better because a lot of them can draw good, a lot of them can do so many things, but the whole issue. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much for sharing. And so we know it. I tell you, I'm in the classroom, and sometimes you talk to other teachers too, and you hear them saying, "Oh, that the one there, me can't bother with him and whatever." And you know, I think it's a sad thing that for me, I believe that every teacher should be trained to even identify, maybe not to diagnose, but to know the signs that you look for. And I am going to read something that the ministry, before I go to my next question, that the ministry has on their website. And while I was doing the research, I found it, right? Because one of the radars that should go up, even when they get to grade 1. So for the teachers on the line, and probably most of the parents know that when they get to grade 1, they have to do a test, some diagnostic test. Now, this test is to feel if they can differentiate between hard and soft. Jamaica, that's much better. Awesome. If it's hard or soft, if it's rough, if all of these things, just to write a simple sentence, just to use things. And if it is that they don't pass this, then that's an indicator that, hey, let's watch this person. And a lot of times, because there's so many in the classroom, what happened is that, yes, teacher realized that we need to watch this person, but as the days progress and the weeks progress, and they become, you know, much more active, they're familiar with everybody now, and so they start the talking and all of this, and teacher has all of that to do with, they kind of forget that, hey, I need to look out for this one. And so the things they have that your child should master: observing the class rules, take turns, use scissors to cut lines, establish a side, whether left or right, and all of these things, to stand quietly in a line. No, these are just indicators for you to say, hi, let's pay attention. Hold a crayon or a pencil correctly and share materials. But you see some of these things too, we can't just only use this, because what I notice is that our basic school, for me, and I'm talking personally, no, I'm talking my opinion, I think that they could do more hands-on and motor skill, and not so much as teaching them to read and write at that point. That's my feeling, that when they get to that point, they are now just going, because they're ready, instead of you have to be teaching them certain motor skills, certain things that they should have learned at preschool. I see Patrona with her hand up. I'm going to allow her to go ahead and ask the question. Thank you, Siobhan.
Okay. As a teacher who is presently in that situation, for me, I think in the government system, more attention needs to be paid to children with special needs at the early childhood level, right? Most of the time, by the time they reach into a unit in a primary school, they are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So all of that brain development and all of those things that they should have gotten in the early childhood days is not there. When you give me a child at three grade, right? And then I'm supposed to 3 grade/4 grade, and I'm supposed to prepare them to do the grade 3 diagnostic or the grade 4 PEP, while I'm teaching them how to cut with a scissors, follow class rules, raise your hand when I ask a question, spell the name, write on a line, put space between each word in your sentence, spell, read, add, count, spell the name of the letters. I'm not going to be able to prepare that child. I won't. And then you're going to still want that child to sit an exam they're not prepared for. And then when their grades come out and they see that they get, or the parents see that they get developing and beginning, and they're less motivated, I'm going to get a parent that is going to be not as supportive because they're saying, it's not like my child is going to pass PEP to go to a whichever high school. So why bother? Right? Some of the parents telling them that they need to do stuff for their children, help them at home, or get them even a glasses, or carry them go test the eye, or carry them to get a checkup. Right? Ensuring that they see a psychiatrist, anything of that sort. It's like you're pulling teeth.
You are
right?
so right.
For me, in the education system, there's so much emphasis placed on what teachers are supposed to do that we do not realize that a teacher cannot do what she's supposed to do if a parent does not do what they're supposed to do. And there need to be laws, because if your child is not getting what they need and you're not helping to get them where they need to be, that is negligence.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Petrona. Thank you so much. And trust me, we agree. I see some heads nodding and all of that. So we do understand.
Is it Stuart?
Yes, miss.
If I may add
sure
to what she is saying, it is more predominant now, and you're seeing it widespread, even more with special needs. I always say that the ministry only speaks special needs, but they don't act special needs. Because think about us, our education system, it has 7 regions, and we can count how many special needs units are in each parish. For me to be effective in the fight against whatever it is that we're going to, because it has to take a team effort.
Yeah.
I believe that every school must have a special needs unit there. Must, because thinking about it, you said that the ministry's diagnostic test at grade 1, that they're testing for counting and all of that. Yes, they may not be able to count, and some of them may get over that hurdle, but how many of them are able to get over that hurdle at grade 1? While there are some schools that go beyond the call, because I know that our school has gone beyond to get those children to be remediated in some cases. Not every school have the resources for one. There are some schools that have the resources, but maybe not have the teacher who is actually experienced in dealing with these children. There's another set that has the resources, but they are not working with it, and it is just the reality. So because they are not working with the children, we find that, oh, when it's time for PEP, I should rightly put it, the majority of those students are shoved in another institution. So here it is then that they're just going through the system until there's no place for them anymore. And it is quite, I just don't like the way it is going, because think about it, after fifth one, where do they go? Because not all of them can function in heart either.
True.
So there has to be someone within the powers that we need to examine some of these things that they're putting in. And might I just add that the primary school curriculum, it is just too much for these children to be absorbing so many things. Think
Yeah.
about a grade student who is learning about the teeth, the heart, the stomach. We learned that when we were in third form. So how do they expect these children now to function with all? I just think too much content
Too
is
much
being forced
content.
on these children and their needs are not being met.
Yes. Yes.
I might I say this, I'm not blaming teachers because I know that teachers have been doing far more than they are compensated to do. It is now time for the ministry to step in and get their cards right and stop just preparing them for a test. We need to prepare them for life, as the motto says, not for school, but for life we learn.
Yes. So true. So true. And I see
Miss
some
Ward,
persons.
I am sorry. My raise hand feature isn't working. I came on late. Good evening,
Oh,
everyone.
I think this is my other presenter. Yes. Mr. Stewart, could
Yes,
you spotlight
yes,
her, please?
I am Shalane Harvey Davis,
Yeah,
and
man,
I
spotlight
am
her
very
still.
happy to hear the voices talking about this very relevant issue. Because yes, it has been a thorn in the flesh, and I hear a lot about what is not happening, but perhaps we need to turn the conversation now as to how do we make something happen?
Not just yet. Not just yet. We leave that part for section two. Yes, so we're just tipping up the iceberg, but persons were preempting and asking questions and risk and giving their 2 cents. And so that's why we're at where we're at, right? So we're not
Oh,
preempting.
oh,
Yes, yes.
oh.
So we
All
leave
right,
that
well,
part
I have
for
my
section
own
two.
little bit to say about that part, so I can
Mhm. Yes,
speak
you
about
can.
my experience. Is it the experience part?
Mhm.
So we're talking about the experiences with special needs children. That's where we're at.
We were actually just talking about we did the difference between it and difficulty. We also
Right.
wondering if the parents' fault, we went through that
Okay.
and somebody wanted to share, their experience with what was happening because we were talking about the kids who are there who don't have a learning disability but a learning
Oh,
difficulty, and yet
okay.
still we tie them in, and don't really pay attention to what's really happening. So that's where we technically are.
All right. If I may add to the conversation, I have been teaching for the past, wow, over 10 years. And I've had quite a lot of experiences with children, both having reading difficulties and children who are manifesting characteristics of learning disabilities. And what has been my experience? Well, as we all know, there is not much done in our jurisdiction as it relates to catering for these children. And I've heard about the grade one learning profile and such and such.
Mhm.
Um, it is really a shame, yes, because I believe that these children, they need system of support
Yeah.
in order for them to really be successful. And system of support from teachers, yes, from parents, yes, it takes a entire community
Yeah.
from even the national level. It does take an entire community, yes. And you said you're not at the solution part yet.
No.
Um, it's a sad, it's a sad phenomenon. Yes, it is. As a teacher, I have to be navigating and putting my skills to pressure to ensure that nobody is left behind.
Yeah.
It has been challenging, but having the skill, continuous professional development, and trying to maneuver the curriculum, it is possible for these children to learn. It is possible for these children
Yeah.
to shine. It is possible for these children to become successful. Even with the limited resources that we have, even if not all members of the community are on board, it is
Mhm.
possible. And I can't wait for us to touch that little dot where we start discussing the possibilities and how we can make these children shine. And I tell you something, these children can shine and even outperform the children who are at grade level. because they are also special. They are also amazing. And
Yeah,
if they are just given that chance to shine, that chance to get where they need to get, it would be surprising to
that's
see
so.
how they manage themselves. And that's just all they need, a chance to really shine, a chance to
Yeah.
really get up to that level. And that's what I want to talk about. So
All
see me
right.
when you get there.
I realize you're just woo, excited about to talk about the solutions and all of that. I see two hands that are up, and I'm coming back to your hands, but we're here talking about learning disabilities, and we're just going on about learning disabilities. But we really want to touch on those five common ones. Because in truth and in fact, some of us don't really actually know some of them. I know if off the bat I can ask anybody, and the first one would be dyslexia, because everybody know that. And so we are kind of zooming in this evening on five very, very important. One is not so much of a what we call a learning disability, but trust me, it comes with its own learning disabilities. So are they all the same? And could you name them? The five that we're focusing on, and are they all the same? What do they entail? Because I know we have dyslexia, I know we have dyscalculia, and some people call it dyscalculia, and we have this dyspraxia. Yes, we have that one. And I know some of these names sound foreign to some of us, but in truth and in fact, they are the ones that are really, really, really troubling our kids. I don't want to curse anybody, we're trying to call them. So I'm making sure that I find them. Yes. So we have dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, and we have auditory and visual processing disorder. And the other thing that we're going to leave for last, which is autism. And for some strange reason, it come like everybody a man with autism. Every other child nowadays. Or you know what I said to somebody the other day? I said, I wonder if it's because we never know. We never know what name. But there was something we didn't know the name. But now that we are aware, now that we're a little bit more informed, then everything is now being attached. So those five, how are they different? And I'm throwing that out to my panelists.
Venice, just for clarity, I don't know if Nordia, the expert, or Jamaica can back this up, but autism is actually not a learning disorder.
Yeah, man, that's what I
learning
said.
Disabilities.
That's
okay.
what I said. But then it comes with yes,
right.
That's
Kids
what
with
I
autism
said.
generally have some level
Autism
of
is a
one
whole
or
thing by itself. Yes.
correct.
Yeah, that's what I said. All right, so my panelists.
And Miss, before you go any further,
yeah,
as she rightly pointed out, it is often confused, especially within the classroom space, to say that it has something to do with learning, because I believe the persons who do that are not expert then, so to speak. And that's why it brings me back to the point that as classroom teachers, we are not at liberty to diagnose. And in truth and in fact, we should not label either, because sometimes we give our students the wrong labels. Because think about a child who likes to run up and down. And because the child run up and down, and the first thing that comes to teacher's mind, oh, him have ADHD. And no, I'm not telling a lie. That's the first thing that comes to their mind.
That's so true. And we're losing her. I guess we're overcast on the outside because of all this rain. And so we're having some glitches. All right, so we're having some glitches there. So we're going to go ahead and Nordia, you could go ahead and just, zoom in on the common ones.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, dyslexia. So dyslexia is one of our reading disabilities. So it affects reading and it's related to the language-based processing skills. So you have a lot of our kids who I guess, are diagnosed with dyslexia, they would have problems with the phonics, the letters, the sounds, blending their sounds. I was working with one teacher recently, and she was saying to me, the student is able to, because you may have some, and with or dyslexia students, you have different characteristics. It's not going to be a one size or one description fit all. You have some people with a learning disability, it's going to look different from one child to the next. So with dyslexia, it is the phonics, connecting your sounds and your letters and blending. So as I was saying with this teacher, she was saying the student was able to recognize letters, recognize the sound. So she would say k, a, but then when it came time to blend, she would say camera. So she would say the sounds, but then when it comes on to blending those sounds, the student had difficulty with that. So individuals with dyslexia often have deficits in those areas when you talk about your phonics and your phonological awareness, but also with blending those sounds. And that goes back to, I guess, the phonological memory. So they are having difficulty with remembering those sounds in order to pull them back together. So that's with dyslexia. And I do want to say as well that with our learning disability students, it's not only going to impact them in the academics. They are going to have problems with social skills. They are going to have problems with their family, their friends. It's going to impact relationships. And that is something that we should pay attention to as well. And as we go into looking at those behaviors that we should recognize, not just as teachers, but as parents. And if we have parents who might not have the academic definitions or vocabulary to describe to teachers, but we still have to, as Kessia said earlier, to really pay attention and to listen to our parents, because sometimes the parents will come in and say, the homework I take too long. Like you get the homework and the homework I take forever. That is something we need to pay attention to. And you're gonna say, oh, you're just lazy and him this and that and whatever. But we really do need to pay attention to those little things that parents come in and say. Because with dyslexia, one of the things that you mentioned, Cassia, was about a student who's slow. So we may say that a student slow and he's being lazy or whatever the case may be. It could be, and as we have said earlier on, where we are in the classroom, we're not going to diagnose, but that's another thing that we need to pay attention to, because what is impacting that student to cause the student to be slow? Is it a situation where is reading, it's taking the child a long time to decode a word? Mm-hmm. Is it a situation where it's processing, it's taking the child a longer time to take the written text, interpret that text? I mean, for a lot of us who read, we see it as just an easy thing, mm-hmm. but our brains weren't developed for that. Mm-hmm. So we have to interpret letters, sounds, blend those together, put them in the brain, do all of that. It's a process. And sometimes for some students, it may take a longer time. So with dyslexia, the student is going to have problems with word recognition, with spelling, pronouncing written words, associating the letters and the sound, understanding the syllables, identifying rhymes. And that, going back to the person who was talking earlier about recognizing or giving more attention to the earlier years, the rhyming. I mean, we may see that as no big thing, but that's a sign when even with the dancing, the kid can't keep beat. Lord knows I can't keep beat. Those are all things that we need to pay attention to with as our kids are growing up in the school. So with dyslexia, those are all areas that could impact our students. So with a slow reader, we have to keep in mind that the brain of a student with dyslexia, it's wired differently. And so some things might not come automatic, as for a lot of you who you just read, you get it, and that's it. It might not be automatic for some of the as your typical students. And so we have to pay attention to that. So it may take a longer time. So with dyslexia, those are some of the things that we pay attention to. I don't know if anybody else want to chime in.
You just said something about movements, but and all of that, but doesn't that come under dyspraxia, where like the motor skills and
it does. It does, but when you talk about with dyspraxia, it's like the motor skills, like with the clumsiness, they'll fall and what tying their shoelace. Pencil holding, all of that can be dyspraxia. But when you talk about kids growing up, earlier years, when they're not able to rhyme, because with the beat, because that's all reading. When you talk about rhyming your words, blending, and all that stuff, you are looking at that the earlier years when our students are not able to do those things in the earlier years. Those are things that we want to pay attention to.
As Karen is saying, rhythm. They can't keep a rhythm.
Yeah.
So we need to be careful because Nadia can't keep a rhythm. She
can't keep a rhythm.
I know she do have dyspraxia, but all right. So yes, so those are the 5 ones. You can look them up. They're online, guys. It's better to be in the know. And as I listened to Mrs. Davis, as she was getting so excited to give us some solutions and all of that, and she said that the ministry needs to do this, and I see some other persons chiming in the chat, just going about what ministry need to do. This is what we're starting in our little corner. This is what we are doing in our little corner. We are educating people. So you can get something right here and go and tell a friend and do all of that. Moya, I want to ask you though, as we are touching on the different types of which one did you see most for Alec standing out? Which one came out more for him?
So dyslexia is what I perceive, but when he did his educational assessment, it's actually there. The summary speaks about dyslexia, but they did not say dyslexia in the summary and the conclusion. However, he is a high risk for ADHD and severely high risk for autism. It was, for my experience, is Alec was, I had behavioral challenges with him. He had challenges socializing. The reading is definitely an issue. He's 7 years old and he is still having struggles with blending. He's done countless hours of private tutoring with special educators for the reading. It takes him much longer than the average child to progress from letter identification to letter sounds. He knows the rules. He can tell you the rules, the vowels, the short vowels, what sounds they're supposed to make, but once he's supposed to blend them, as Nadia was saying, the blending is an issue. He has a problem blending. But how I identified that something was wrong with Alec in terms of his educational abilities was he's been doing blending. He's been exposed to phonemics from the age of 3. And when he sees the word, I will never forget the day when I identified that, okay, something is seriously wrong. He was doing pat, right? So you ask him, you go through and you sound at, and ask him to repeat, he repeated up in the reverse order. And even for cat, those simple little words, he does blend them in the reverse order. And sometimes when he gets it in the correct order, he has challenges putting them together. So he's seeing it differently in his head. The flow of the information is in the opposite direction. Even now in the mathematics, where they're doing additions and number placements, I don't know, but for the life of me or the teacher, we cannot get Alec to understand that. You start your addition from the left. He says he doesn't understand why it doesn't make sense. You need to start from the right. And when it was without, when he was doing it and you don't have the remainder, he used to get them right. So, you know, it was like, I used to get them right. I get 100 over here. Why is it that this one is correct and incorrect? And why can't I add a starting from the right and get the same results? So it has a lot to do with how they process the information. But for him, in his assessment is ongoing because the educational assessment was triggered due to his autism. And also the autism is still not even formally diagnosed, because again, we go back to the lacking of resources here in Jamaica. I have waited years for him to get a date, and when he finally got the date was cancelled, and now I am waiting. This is another 6-7 months that I am still waiting on a date for him to be formally assessed. However, the doctor is clear that she's sure that he has autism, but they need to identify where on the spectrum this autism is. So I've done the educational assessment, the recommended IEP. What most persons might not know what IEP is, but it's an individualized educational program for particular children. They also recommend programs, but I have tried these programs on my own, but it's not effective because I am not trained in the area. I'm the parent who is seeing this child, this very intelligent child, and I can't get through to him. I give him, what really works for him though is to watch videos. However, if he is demotivated, if his confidence has been affected, you're not getting anything through to him. Him done. If he starts and he has a challenge at start, he's done, he's over with. He's like, I can't be bothered. Everybody gets it. And he said it to me, he's like, Mommy, why is that everybody is getting this so easily and I can't get it? But yet still, I can count. He can count by thousands. He can count 1,000, 2,000, he can count in 500s, and he can count in tens of hundreds. But at the same time, there's just simple things like process flow, left and right. He still have issues with left and right, where what is left, what is right. He still have issues with those, and he's 7, and we've done it countless of times. And even just to give parents an overview of the little things that I have recognized, which is why I seek to get him assessed. And I spoke to his doctors, his teachers about what is happening. And mind you, when he was a baby, was a toddler and in preschool, everybody told me he's fine, he will develop. Boys just take longer to develop. That was what I hear on every single teacher in preschool that I have spoken to. That's what they're told until they start to see certain behavioral challenges. He's moved from other schools. He's changed schools several times. First, it was when he finished preschool, he went to a prep school for preschool to start kinder. And they had challenges with his behavior because once he's not understanding and he feels less than, then he starts to act out. He gets aggressive. And the teacher did not know how to handle it. And there was physical abuse. I mean, I almost
blow your top.
Understand. Yeah, man, because I'm like, your teachers, you're an adult, he's a child. Find different ways to deal with it. But at the same time, I can understand. I emphasize with the teacher. I had empathy with the teacher because it can be torturous at times. It was hard for me to get him dressed for school. But that's something completely different outside of the fear of wanting to go to school and feel less than. Even as young as he was aware of these things. He had sensory issue where the autism was concerned. I didn't know at that time that it was autism. When Alec was a baby and I realized that something was wrong, I went online and I started reading. I was like, autism? No, sir, because autism came up with a lot of the things that I've seen in him. I was like, autism? No, sir, Alec can't have autism. He looks too normal. And that is one of the challenge that we have as parents. We think that autism is this disability where you're putting going to like an handicap or whatever. Nope, they can look as normal as and handsome and as beautiful as any normal child. They can function as any normal child, but they have a neurological issues. The aggression in some kids, you don't know what triggered the aggression. It has to do with their things that affects them, their sensory skills, things that is going through their mind that affects them. They are very aware of what is happening around them. For Alec, he had a lot of sensory issues that I was not aware of. tags in his clothes. I couldn't understand why I need to cut out every single tag out of this picnic clothes, to the point I buy tagless clothes. Right now, I have a challenge for him to wear briefs. He does not want to wear briefs. We're at the point now where he only wears briefs to school or if we're going on the road. And if he's getting himself dressed, trust me, no brief under that pants. Right now today, I was going through baskets of briefs that I bought, briefs, just for him to try several different types of material, texture and everything, and he's just not having it. Shoelace, this term was the first time I could buy like a shoe with lace in it. Everything was either Velcro strap or the slip-on shoes, because once you see the lace, you're not having it. And for parents, I don't want you to feel afraid or fearful of the situation, because even though he wasn't doing it as most kids would, he participates in the catch the bus race at school and came second. And that includes getting yourself dressed, tie your shoes, lace, yada, yada, and he came second. So, there is hope. And the hope comes from you as parents paying attention, identifying these challenges and help them. Because what I realized that helped Alec a lot, repetition. Yes, repetition is the means of learning, but repetition for them is far more needed than any of the regular child. You have to constantly going through it over and over and over and over. I don't have any fear that he will learn to read. I know he will learn to read, but I have to be consistent, and I have to push through it. I have to consistently trying to find the best resources for him, the best teacher, giving him more time with the reading teacher, because that they need that additional help than the regular kids. In terms of school experience, no, I hear everybody about the challenges in the school situation. As I said, I've moved Alec from a lot of schools. Not a lot, but from in preschool, he moved from preschool to a prep school. We had to move him back to the preschool, and then he went to another preschool, which the challenges highlighted significantly in that environment. I think it's the surrounding where there was too much there was just too much coming at him. The school has a lot of diagram, a lot of charts, and those did not do well.
He's overwhelmed.
He was overwhelmed, exactly. Too much what you call that? He was hypersensitive. Stimulus, right? Too much stimulation for him. So he didn't do well, and he would cry, he would hang onto my pants, on my feet to leave to go to for work when I drop him off in the morning. It was really chaotic, but he does settle down at the end of the day. But the partying was a challenge, and he does settle down. He was learning. He would finish his work in rocket speed ahead of everybody and trying to help the other kids. The teacher would complain to ask him not to do that. But at the same time, when he came on to the blending and the phonemics, that's where he had his challenges. Fine gross motor skills was an issue right now. His writing is improving, and that's a countless space between the words, space between the words. But at the same time, what is a word versus what is a letter? You have to differentiate for him that this is a word, this is a letter. And especially the fact that he's not reading now, it's hard for him to differentiate a letter versus a word. So you have to say space between the letter. But if you write on the blackboard with the relevant space, he copies exactly. However, it will take him forever to copy what is on the blackboard, because he has that issue, the fine gross motor skills. Again, that has to do with the autism and the ADHD. His attention span, oh God, bless it.
God. It sounds like a bill, not even a handful, but a bucket full. It sounds like a bucket full. And I can just imagine the parents. I see some persons in there commenting. Somebody said, boy, why that sound like my son? And so on. But there's hope. As she said, there's hope. Janet had her hand a long time ago up.
But Cassie, if I could say something real quick to Moya though, because I really admire you. I'm not gonna try in a ball because that you are doing the work. You are not. I'm sure you went through just the questioning as you talked about earlier, and wondering and everything. I can just imagine all the emotions. But at the end of it, you have come to the point where you're doing the work with your son. You are doing what it takes. You're advocating for him. You're doing it. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she was so excited. She sent me a video of her nephew who graduated high school. He is dyslexic, and he graduated high school with a 3.0.
Wow.
And she was so excited. I could hear her in the video just screaming and going on. So it can be done. And I've heard several people say it already. It can be done. It's just at some point it's hard. It's hard to accept when you hear the news. But at some point you have to accept it and grapple with it and just do what it takes, because for whatever reason, God saw it fit you, Alex. He thought you were capable to do the work. And so he picked you. And I really admire what you are doing. And I have to say, too, as far as for our teachers, I know I can speak for here. A lot of our teachers are not trained, not equipped to deal with and to educate our students who are special needs. And I know in Jamaica, a lot of the schools don't have special educators. So I personally think if they just tap into what they have learned from college, that they can do it. But a lot of them probably just feel like, I don't know how, I can't. But it can be done. And I've had this conversation with Cassia before about finding a school. I am willing and ready to find a school, to find a team to come to Jamaica and work. Because I know growing up in Jamaica, I've seen where a lot of us got overlooked. A lot of us, a lot of kids, a lot of our friends, a lot of our families did not get what we were supposed to get. Whether it was a learning difference, a learning disability, and Cassia mentioned it earlier. I remember Lord of Mercy in a grade 6, when if come up with a multiplication facts, you get some lick. And math disability, when we talk about dyscalculia, it could have been that. But then no. And so I think teachers too, not just talking about Jamaica, I'm talking about here. Sometimes our teachers don't have tools in their toolbox to help, and they may not even have the conversation to work with the parents. So I think even this very meeting or conference that Cassia is doing right now is a starting point to make people, not just teachers, aware, but parents aware. And with you, Moya, really sharing with parents to say it's possible. You can come out of the denial and work with a baby, and it can be done. So I honestly admire you for that.
Thank you. And to be honest, the denial was there until I saw him. Until I saw him, because when he was the first time I took him to UE, because of it was mostly because of separation anxiety. That's how I brought him up by UE to see as a child psychiatrist. And they just the interaction and everything, and they say, "Mommy, the baby is on the spectrum." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And they explained to me, and I went and I read up, and I was like, "This is what I suspected from before." But the denial part for me, I had to snap out of it really quickly. And as I said, COVID is a plus and a negative for me, because if it wasn't for COVID and I didn't have the opportunity to sit by him when he was doing online schooling, I wouldn't have seen it for myself. I wouldn't have believed that, this child with so much potential, why him so, as you said, lazy? Because when he was online schooling, he would not look at the teacher. I know he never used to look at people, like look directly into their eyes when he's speaking to them. He does that to me, but not to ever and anybody. And when I saw that he was not interactive with the teacher, he would slide under the desk, under the chair. He would want them. If the camera is off, it's fine. He would participate. But at the same time, the teacher didn't understand. And she was like, "Alec, you need to leave your camera on." And I have to say to her, I was like, "Miss, I really do notice a difference when he has his camera off. Please allow him." But the policy of the school, the policy of Ministry of Education is that when they're online school, the camera must on at all times. And when I saw that, and then when I had a one-on-one conversation with the teacher, and that grade 1 assessment that everybody talking about, I had to be in the room with Alec when he was doing his grade 1 assessment. And it was amazing to me to see what he had on that assessment. I don't even know how them still accept him in school with the thing, but there was some kind. there is some logic to what he was doing though, because what they asked him to do on the paper, he couldn't read it. The teacher was able to read some to him just to assist with some areas and to identify that the reading is an issue. And I remember there was a box, and the box was asking you to there were some letters that you're supposed to match or something like that. And there was a TV in the classroom, and Alec write television on the paper instead of what he was supposed to do. And the television wasn't labeled. And I was like, how does he even know how to spell television? Right? But at the same time, that same school, however, they told me after the one-on-one and going through, and then my denial started at kind of getting away from the denial and seeing that, something is really wrong. The school actually called to say that, mommy, I don't think your baby can thrive in this environment. Please try find somewhere else to put him. This is a very prominent primary school in Kingston. So I was like, I was offended, to be honest, greatly offended. But when you have to be, you just have to accept what the resources, the country that we're living in, and the resources that are available to us. Alec does behavior therapy, and to a lot of parents, it's disheartening sometimes when I think about it, because the cost of these resources is it's exuberant.
That Moya, that it's very costly, and the places who do it for free, the line is this long. And you have to wait. And then the persons who do it, the paid one, it's so expensive that the little regular man like myself here can't afford to do it. And that's
even the line for the paid services are long.
I know. Well, there you go again. So we need more of these things, and that is one of the things that we're going to touch on, guys. I say I would close this thing off 8 o'clock, but we have 15 minutes.
Because more and more children are if I may say this, if you notice, more and more students are presenting with autism on a day-to-day, and we must remember that it is a spectrum. So even though we may be looking for a child who can't read, look a funny way, but you have children who are very high achievers that have autism. And I don't know how many of us have researched it, but some of these children now, they tend to want to skew towards the robotics thing. A lot of our autistic children are into robotics, and it is for us as parents and teachers to help them to foster that skill and get them to be their best selves. Because think about it, having two children, a lot of us as parents, we tend to compare them. And I just want to put it out there today, no two children are the same. Stop comparing your child and appreciate them for who they are and work with them accordingly. While it may be expensive, the parent who decides that I will go the extra mile with my child, no matter what it costs, they are going to go the extra mile. And I must say commendations to you, Mommy. It's not an easy feat, because sometimes it can get overwhelming. Think about a teacher who has that child for just 3 hours and they can't be bothered. Right to put it, they don't have the skills. But I think you have all the necessary skills without going to a college and being certified to deal with any autistic child as we speak. So kudos to you. And words are not there to tell you how I appreciate it. Because even though
I'm going to clip you too right there. I clip on the wing right there. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Because Janet and Veronica has been waiting for quite a while. Oh my goodness, them probably fall asleep by now. But I'm going to allow Janet to speak, and then I'm going to allow Veronica to go ahead. Janet, are you still there?
And I wanted to hands down, but I didn't know how to hands down because, Maya, oh my God, she had said it all for me. And as you know, I used to be at courts, and my daughter is now 17 years old. And that's the reason I had was to resign, just to pay more attention, because at one point there was one school that refused her, and it was same way at birth. At birth, in her early childhood, to get the assessment to be done, there were always long wait. I have to wait so long, and they still did not diagnose our situation until I came here, which is 6 years ago, and that is diagnosed as this learning disabilities. And just as what I think Alex is similar to what Shante is having, the back way or C's work right the other way. So they process things the opposite way, you know, and what you're doing, the resources, it is just not there. And you know, the government, it has to be starting. And I'm just thinking while we are at it, is that I think it has to start from the clinical part of it, from the birth of the child, where the doctors can identify, you know, they should be able to identify what is happening with the child. Remember, we take them to the clinic, we take them to their doctors, right? And from there, they should be able to see. When I came here, all these years I have, Shante, I did not have I was like being tough trying to go with this. And when I came here and when the questions started to throw at me when she goes for assessment, they started from my pregnancy, right? I get overwhelmed, I break down, I start crying because they start searching out from my from my first child, come right down to the period of her being pregnant. I've been pregnant with her, you know. I went into preeclampsia, whatever they call it, and that is what happened. So she got the brain damage, right? If she had gotten earlier attention, like from birth, because I got Shanti 1 week after birth, right? I have a cousin here who the child was born at 5 months, and that child is more, she's just 7, and she's more active than Shanti because they start having OT speech right away from early birth, you know, the home, they come to the home and all of that. Shanti now start getting those things. So she gets all the OT, the speech, the PT at school and also at home because they have to be trying, because she miss out so much, they have to be rapidly. Good thing with here, what they try to take from the child, what they better go at, what the best thing for them. So she'll be in school until 21. So they see that she might not be academical ready for the world. So they prepare her for, you know, other things, the skills, whatever. You understand? So they don't leave them out. And when you're working and you see what is in the work world, they leave they name these children, they call these children the special children, special child. So each of them are special to them. They take more care than the natural child. There's another thing in the classroom that has to be done, but because of the resources lacking, where it's the 1-to-1, the 1-to-1 or the 1-to-6, the 1-to-12. So they started off Chantel in a 1-to-12. They realized that was too advanced for her. So they put her to a 1-to-6, you know, where she needs more, you know. So it is just the resources, and it's nobody's fault, no parents, no teacher's fault, but it's just knowing is the key. Knowledge is the key. And you know, and that is where this is a very good platform, an interesting platform, but this should be yes, someone has to start it, but the ministry now, they have to take upon themselves to start this thing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Maya. God bless you.
Thanks, Janet. You're welcome.
Yeah. Go ahead, Veronica. And I guess what happened? You guys went into autism, you guys went into everything. So after we take these hands and stuff, and if there are any more questions, we have some giveaways before we get into the solutions. So Veronica and then Petrona. And we have another parent who is online, who I had her son in grade 3, and I sensed that something was off with him just a little bit, didn't know what it was. But guess what? My job is to call in the parent. Let's get him tested. And a lot of times when we tell the parents that them head go off, like, oh Jesus, we have some idiot in mad in fool. And I keep saying to parents, stop it. Let us find out what is wrong with the child, and so we can help the child. Let us find out what's going on, because it may not be nothing, not be anything, just like how we mix up learning difficulties with learning disability. It may be just that. So let us find out. Let us just make sure. So parents who are online, please, when teacher call you in and said to you that, mommy, I think you need to get him tested or get him as take a breathe, take a breather and say, all right, miss, what and what I need to do. All right. So Veronica, go ahead and Petrona and assist Suzette with her hand up.
Good evening, everyone. Let me just say that I'm very grateful for this forum, and I'm really looking forward to individual schools. I would love to see my prep school, which is where I got the link. I would love to see us do something in on this. Now, I have three children in school. They are very close in age, 6 to 10, and I was able to understand the learning disability, sorry for the noise, because they before they came into regular school in September, they were in a play school where they were about 6, maybe 10 students in the entire school. So they got a lot of individual attention. And last year about this time, that teacher was able to say to me that my daughter, who was 9 at the time, she thinks she has dyslexia because she has been working with her and she's seeing some things that allowed her to say that she may not be there is something else that is going on why she's not reading at her grade level. Now, all my children, bringing them into the regular school system since this year, they are performing well. And I think that is also a stumbling block for some of the teachers. Unless the child is not performing well, there cannot be any learning difficulty going on. Right? My 6-year-old, I did the assessment for him when he had just turned 6, and the child psychologist said that it is best to do it early because that is when the intervention can make the most impact, as the previous parent said. And one of the most frustrating thing for me is to get his preschool teacher to kindergarten teacher to understand that he has a difficulty. I do not want to wait. He has the same things that the other parent was talking about, where he will say k up and then he says up. He's not putting it together. He's reflecting letters. So all my children will write 3 backway and things like that. The teachers will sometimes see this as minor things and they wait until it becomes a bigger problem. They wait until it becomes a big problem. And even I will say in my experience, when I have done the assessments and I'm saying to teachers, this is the challenge that the child has. Number one, a lot of them don't know what you're talking about. Number two, they don't have any strategies, because they're not dealing with any of these children individually, even in a prep school that says they have small class sizes. But I think particularly if the student is not falling behind, sometimes the teachers are saying, well, they just need to work harder, instead of saying that, again, what might be going on. And let me just say, as I wrap up, I would personally like sometimes we say what problem the children have. My children do not have a problem. My children learn in specific ways, and as a parent, I want to know how my children learn. Sometimes I see people writing in the comments like this has something to do with people being pitying people for having children that have these neurological or neurodivergent brains. Personally, is not a problem to me. I want to know as much as possible so I know how to facilitate my child's learning. I don't see it as my child having a problem. I see it as the system that we have in Jamaica not facilitating the children's learning. Thank you.
I like that, Veronica. I really like how you put it.
Love that. Love
Yes.
that.
Yes,
You don't
down
have to
right.
worry.
It's
You
the
want to
system
know
that
how
has a
to,
disability.
yeah.
That's right. Yep.
I agree 100%. I
Yeah.
am with you on that. The kids don't
That's
have a
so
problem.
true.
They just need a little different, just need some individualized learning for some of them that have a little challenge, because they all do
Learn
what
differently.
they just learn differently.
Learn
Yeah.
They just,
differently.
And
And
can
we
I
all
tell
do.
you, they are so smart, some of them. Oh my God. Amazingly
And miss, they
smart.
need patience too. They need
Yeah.
teachers with patience, because sometimes we get too flustered and we can't be bothered. But to deal with
Yeah.
these children, you have to have patience. And first, you must love them. If you don't love them, you can't teach them. Always remember that.
Yes. As you said that, I read a quote today on a friend's status. it says, teachers, your student don't love the things that you pace up in the class. They don't love how you dress and come in. They love the fact that you love them, and how you treat them is what counts. That is what they love. And you just put it right there, because we have to love them. We have to love them. All right. So Petrona, and then I see Imani. Then we're gonna have a break just to give our panelists a little 5 minutes. We're gonna have some giveaways, and then we'll come right back to the issues, how to solve them, what to do, where we can go.
Denise, quickly before you go to the next person, I just want to say to teachers that when you have a student in your class and they're performing normally or a little above the average, when your parents come to you and say to you that I identify some challenges in my child, listen, because I am having that problem right now where Alex teacher doesn't believe that he has any challenge. Him soon learn to read. He's 7, he's gonna learn to read. Yes, I know he's gonna learn to read, but he's 7, he should have been reading, right? Take some time to listen to the parents, because it's not all parents going to have a deaf ears, and you have parents who do actively participate in their child learning. And when they come to you and say something is wrong and please help me to identify or assess the situation, point me in the direction to help this child, don't tell them that your child is fine, he's very intelligent and whatnot, because yes, I know he's intelligent, but I also know that he's having a little challenge here.
Yeah.
So please, I'm asking teachers to please pay attention to those cries.
Duly noted. As a teacher for the teachers, I'm responding. Duly noted. All right, Suzette, let me tell you something about this raise hand feature. You see, the minute you take down your hand, you gone right to the back of the queue.
My apologies. My apologies. But I agree with what Moya just said just now, because I remember, and I want to say hats off to all the teachers that identify that there are some issues with the students and try to get the parents involved. I remember years ago, my mother was a bit concerned with my sister. And of course, she heard about micro practicing, and she took my sister to micro practicing, and they did analyze her, but they wanted the teacher to come next time. And my parents agreed to take the teacher. She refused. She said she's not losing her day. The teacher said she's not losing her day to go, and she did not go. Right? So teachers, really, if the parents and you see that they are concerned about their kids, assist them. Because what happened with micro practicing is that at that time, because that is years and years ago, but it ended there at them because they needed the teacher to participate at the time. And she said she was not going to lose her day.
Wow.
So hats off to the teachers who identify something is wrong and call in the teachers. I really appreciate that, because my experience based on my sister was not like that.
Yeah. You see, thanks, Susan, for that. The same thing Jamaica just mentioned. You have to love them. You have to love them to do this. You have to have the patience to do it. It takes a lot. And somebody dropped a comment earlier that state that too many children are in the class. And in truth and in fact, when as I said earlier, that when they do the test and you say, okay, I'm going to look out for this one, by the time school get in full swing, you don't remember nothing. And that's just the reality of it. And so we have to really, 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 really make the effort. Teachers, we have to. So Petrona and Imani, and then we'll have the giveaway. So Miss Jenny, get yourself ready. Go ahead.
In Jamaica, with everything we tell people, early detection is best. Early this is best. Early that is best. But when it comes to education, the same campaign is not done.
Not done.
Because some of these disabilities and disorders, them don't just manifest when the child is 6, when the child is 8, when the child is 10. Even when it comes to autism, the first time I started working with children with special needs, I was working with a child with autism. That was in 2011, right?
That's how I fell in love with special needs, by working with that child. He was turning 2. His mother found out that he had autism at 18 months, 20, between 18 and 21 months.
That's good.
Because what we need to remember, there are developmental milestones that children have to meet for us to say that they're developing normally.
Yeah.
And once they're not hitting these milestones, there is some level of abnormality.
Yeah.
The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health, we keep on looking at our children with special needs as being children that the Ministry of Education needs to look out for. But the truth of the matter is, it starts with the Ministry of Health. Because before they get into a learning institution, they are first going to the clinics for their nebulization and stuff like that. If the persons who are there immunizing these children were checking for the delays in those developmental milestones, maybe we would have kept some of them from age 2, age 3 and younger. And then some kind of intervention could start to happen from the early childhood stage, right? So when it comes to our children, health and education goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
I will keep on looking at them as like they're separate entities. The Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Social Security and Welfare need to partner together to make a committee that is going to look out for the development of our children. That committee should be able to look out for their development, should be able to detect things early and all of these things. Because we can't say, okay, we want Jamaica to have this bright and beautiful future. But then there's a portion of our children whose future we keep on a drop the ball with.
Yeah.
Right? So these are things that we need to do. Yes, parents are going to continuously be in denial. But when we can detect, when a note, a file, a form can come to a school for a child saying that the child should have been able to do X by Y age and they're not doing it, the teachers will be able to do something.
Mm-hmm.
The school will be able to do something. For me, I definitely believe that there needs to be a law. I don't care how much denial you want to be in and how much normal you want your child to be. There needs to be a law. If you are not going to protect your child, if you're not going to ensure that your child get the best of whatever they need to do, then the court needs to step in and ensure that it is done. Right?
There is the rights of the child.
Yes, you have to protect the rights of the child.
Yes. So they can be penalized, but nobody talks.
Yes. But even with that, we will still need to have the resources. For me,
yes,
I believe that every constituency, the same way like how every constituency have an MP, and every division have a councillor, then guess what? Division needs to have a primary school, a high school, and a basic school that caters to the children with special needs.
Yes.
Once a parent find out that their child will need that, they will know where to go.
All right. Thank you so much.
Venice, to expound on those points. No, man, the thing about identifying in terms of penalizing, education needs to be there first, because a lot of parents see these things and don't even know that it's abnormal. Because we have a society where we think that every child going to develop, especially boys take longer to develop. Because even doctors have the same thinking. So it comes, we have to educate the mass first. We really need to work on that. Awareness and education.
True. And one of the things is that now, guys, everything is online. Some of us watch other things online. We prefer sit down and watch TikTok and we watch this and we dip on Instagram and we do all of this. But everything is there. how the child should develop, at what age the child should be doing this,
Yes.
all of that. And it's not talking about just physical, it takes in everything. And so
Yes.
the information is there. We live in our age now where it's at your
You
fingertips.
can Google. And
Come on.
I have to add to that, sorry.
Mhm.
Because as I think it was Patrina, but she
Mhm.
was just talking just now about the developmental milestones. As parents, you can Google that. You can go in and you can see by what age what your child is supposed to be doing. Because I don't remember if it with one of my kids. I don't remember what was going on. And I was like, the teacher, I don't remember if it was the teacher was saying something or what it was. I said, I have this book, and I was looking at the bookshelf, and I went in the book, and I was like, but she's supposed to be doing this, and she's supposed to be doing this, and she's supposed to be doing that. So some of it falls back on us as parents. And I can speak on both. I can speak on the teacher and I can speak on the parent. We both have accountability.
Yes.
As the parent, you can check to say, okay, this not sound right, this don't look right, she's supposed to do this. And you can check as well. You have an accountability as a parent. And then you have the teacher who is going to be your ally to go in. Some of them probably not do so good for listen, but you can go in and say and document it for some talk to her such and such a day, and she this is what she say and whatever. Document everything that you did, so that if she says something, you have something to fall back on to say, yes, I came to you and I said this. But as parents, we have a responsibility to check and look. As Cassia said, we Google everything else, we watch all kind of something. So it's our responsibility to do our part.
All right, thank you. So Imani, and after Imani, we'll have the giveaways, and then we're going to shut it down by telling where to go. What can I do? How do I help my child? Go ahead, Imani. Imani? We lost Imani. Okay, go ahead.
Then, so I have a 2-year-old, and I'm wondering if I should be worried about her not speaking. She is.
Oh, that's the question? You're wondering if you should be worried about her not speaking at 2? Any one of you special educators want to respond to that, Jamaica? You want to answer her?
Two-year-old, I would say, worry or not worry, I would think about something happening, not sure what it is. But in general, a 2-year-old, we're accustomed to a child speaking. I'm not saying that it is a condition, so to speak, but maybe she could get some advice from a psychologist, so to speak, to make sure that she's on the right track.
All right, one of the things too I realize with even kids who are not speaking, oftentimes we speak not to them, but we speak around them. And I realize that with a lot of babies that I've come in contact with, a lot of them that grow. And if you notice, even when they can't respond, once you start talking to them, they start giving you that attention until they start babbling and all of these things. And so let us talk to them and not around them. All right. But as Jamaica said,
and Miss, she may want to check. I don't know if she has ever tried doing this, because sometimes they may have issues with hearing too. And because they have issues with hearing, the ear and the mouth, they work hand in hand. So you may want to check that too. And as you rightly said, it's not just when they're born that we start speaking to them, but we start speaking to them from they're in the womb. So we develop that level of communication with them. But I would say speak to a psychologist to get a better insight on whatever the problem is, because I am not au fait enough to tell you that there is a genuine problem.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just have the giveaways right now. Thank you so much, panelists. You have been doing good. My audience, you have been great. I realize that some persons are going and coming and all of that, but it's fine. We're having good conversations and we're getting the information out. And so at this time, I'm going to ask Janique Francis to come and do our giveaways as we rest our lips and tongues and brain. All right, MC, I see you gotta go. Thank you. I see some persons in the chat while we're waiting on Janique to come. Somebody asking what's the cost for this? I don't know what they're dropping in the chat, but I guess conversations happening in the chat, you know, and I guess Jermika can give you more information about costs as it relates to MicroCare. Yes, she better have some information for you guys, even though she's all the way in St. Anna, not in Kingston. But yes, she can give you some information about money because yes, we want to know if it's free or if we can pay and get a quicker service. Yes, we want to know.
It is not free. It is not free. I'm not quite sure of the cost. I can tell you it is not very cheap either. And even you pay, you will not get a quicker service. And let me say why. We have 3 campuses. There's a main campus in Kingston, Mandeville. However, because of the number of students that present with different disabilities, and some schools would send to say that, hey, these children are going to be doing exams, we need them to be tested. There's always a long list. So the services, while not free, or it may not be at an exorbitant cost, even though you're going to pay, you still have to wait. And I just want to use this opportunity to say, because of experience, sometimes when our teachers and our guidance counselors tell us that our children may seem a little off, they may tell us from as early as grade 2, you know, and sometimes say, oh, not me pitney. But when they get to that stage where they're to do the ministry standardized exams and they need that recommendation to get them, whether a reader writer, a reader, or they need whatever the accommodations are, that is when we are all over the place running up and down, and that is not the ideal time. It is better to do it early, because once you have your report, then you can get the different accommodations from the Ministry of Education. So it's not free, it's not exorbitant, but there is always a wait list.
All right. So guys, you have that. And I just sent my tech guy, who is my husband in the back there, working. I love him so much. I just sent him some information to drop in the chat. So you guys can, I see somebody talking about Macam and Michael Kier. And so I'm sending the information in the chat. You'll get it, the address and the phone number. So you guys can call, you guys can email somebody. There's a learning center also. And so you won't be left alone. And Moya can tell you too that there's some autistic cases that you can touch on. Yes, they can. So you guys can, yes, ma'am.
There's also another place too. There's also another place, JAID, Jamaica Association for Intellectual Disabilities too. That place does some amount of testing. I don't know how far they go with testing of students. Also, I might just say this, but nobody heard it. All right, let me just say this. One of the better ways to get your child tested, so to speak, because the MicroCare, it does not only do testing, it also do remediation of students, because not every child that they will send for testing will be a special needs case. So based on the level of the child, micro remediates too. Sometimes they begin them at summer school and it goes over into the regular school year if it warrants, but that is solely dependent on MicroCare.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you that you're going to be guaranteed that testing, even though they have the summer school and your child has joined, but that can be an avenue where parents explore, try to get them enrolled in the summer program. Who knows? You don't know what will happen. You may just get a testing and evaluation and know what to do from there.
What about 3D? Is 3D does testing, or they just do counseling?
Not sure about 3Ds, but I know JAID,
Yeah,
they do
man, I
testing,
saw
and
that.
JAID tends to do testing in groups. Groups, for example, schools, they
Yeah.
normally work with JAID.
Okay. I see a counselor in there saying that boy them tired of microcare because the referent parents and parents not getting through. I think the bottom line is,
The
guys,
wait list is
microcare
very
is
long. It is so long.
overloaded because they're
It is
we have
overload.
limited persons doing it. Now look at this. We have 3 plus that one is just 4. Think about all the children in Jamaica who might need to be assessed. So I
Exactly.
mean,
And then you
it's
have to understand
crazy.
that sometimes two parents come with court orders saying that there's a court case and they
Yeah,
need
so
this
you have to do
at
that
X
one.
time, and so some of those things you have to factor in some of these
Yeah.
things too. So yes, we know it can be very frustrating, but think of it, it's just one agency with so many kids, and
Yeah.
then even after some of them are tested, there's still nowhere for them to go because there are no centers, and some of the centers are there, they are not functional too.
They're
Another
overloaded.
thing that I've picked up since working with them, no, I mean, some of them are non-functional because some schools have the unit, but they're not doing what they ought to do. One of the things
Okay.
I've picked up since working with them, a primary school in particular, once that child look like the child can't read it, they are sending them to Michael. They don't. I don't think enough is being done to yes, to remediate the child or the
There's
children.
no
So,
reading
so
teacher or
I am
you go
accustomed
see.
to having, but there is a reading unit, there's a resource unit at that particular school, and I'm accustomed to that at my school where we have every grade has a remedial grade, and those children are catered to. But I think not all the schools are doing this. So a lot of the students who don't really need to go a Michael end up on Michael's list, and that is the reality.
It is sad though, because I remember I was on leave as somebody, I think who shared, said that the parents said they didn't have the time. I think it was Suzette. And I remember I was on leave and the principal at the time called me and she said, Miss, one of your students who you had referred some time ago did his test and they want you to come in. Would you go? I was on leave and I jump in my car in the morning and drive, go down to Michael Care. And I went and I did the interview. And at the end of it all, I got a paper. When I went back, I got a paper as to how to better deal with this child. They gave me a full instruction. So look here, do this, do that, do that. He's better in this space, all of that. And I tried my best to follow it because remember, it's not him alone I have in the class. So I have to try my best to work that sheet as best as possible. So guys, trust me, it's rough, it's hard as teachers. I'm talking from the teacher thing, it's not normal. It's not normal when you have 40, 30 odd kids in the classroom and you still have to cater to those kids. It's crazy. Crazy.
Just to add to that, Cassia, I think in a lot of cases, some of those accommodations is not going to only work for that one child. Because what you will realize sometimes that whoever need extended time, sometimes more than one of them might need extended time. So sometimes you'll find those accommodations are not only good for our SPED kids, good for kids. So even sometimes when we test our students, and even if sometimes the kids come out and they don't need special education, there was a reason why that student was referred. So whatever it is, that child needs accommodation.
Yeah.
So some of those accommodations can still apply to other kids in class. And we can talk outside of this because there are other ways too, where in working with the schools here, where I see how teachers work with their accommodation list. So there are ways that teachers are able to kind of make sure that they're touching all of their kids and doing what they're supposed to do, even in those larger class.
Well, probably we need to have more conversations on that. I mean, off here, so we can work something out. So we can get into some schools here, even in starting with my area. This is Jamaica that you were supposed to have the conversation with, but she ran away and left us at your time, and she's now with Michael.
Oh, okay.
But what I'll do though, I'll hook you up with Mrs. Davis. the one that has the heart for those children. Trust me, she does. And she works very hard. So I'll hook you up with that. Somebody online, Galaxy A03 Core, I don't know who that is, but that person wants to talk to one of you offline, one of the teachers. I don't know who that is. So guys, Janique, I don't know where you are, but anyway, guys, we have to get to that point where we shut it down. It's 8:23, and we are going to know. We have given you the places that you can go. And so I'm going to give the panelists their last time to just give you a word of encouragement, something you can do to enhance your child's life, somewhere you can go other than those, well, you know, all the persons there. So, and then I'll just do the giveaways by asking one question to see if I can give away a phone card. Then I'm going to call some numbers. Whoever get that, just get it. And I have two questions. Yes. There you go. Somebody said her sister-in-law is leaving Jamaica because her daughter have autism, because we don't have the capacity. We don't have the resources. We just don't have it. And that's the truth. And that's a sad truth. And these are the tough truths about all of this that we have to deal with, guys, that we really don't have what it is to really take care of these children. And we need to do better. Our government needs to do better. Our teachers need to do better. All of us need to work together. As somebody said, the health, everybody, and let's stop isolating ourselves and come together as one to make it better for our children, because they're our children, they're our future, they're our Jamaica. All right, so Jamaica, Nordia, Moya, and I'm not sure if Mrs. Davis is still there, but oh, she's gone off. So you guys can have your last few words with our audience before I give those phone cards away and give the vote of thanks. So any one of you can start.
Alrighty, so I'm going to start. Parents, teachers, other educators that may exist in private institutions, disabilities on a whole, it is not a death sentence. There are so many persons that have lived with disabilities, whether it's learning disabilities, intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities, and have excelled in all areas of life. Now it is our time, our children, or biological children, or whether just a children we know, a child we know, sorry, we need to embrace them. Let them know we appreciate them for who they are, because at least they were first a child and they have now become a child living with a disability. It does not make them less of a person. And we need to help them to own the skills that they are good at. Mind you, a child with autism, you may have a very brilliant child with autism. And then you may have another one who is just way down the bottom, another one who may be in the middle. You may have a brilliant artist, who knows, a lawyer, but that person could be autistic or have some other disability. Let us not write them off, but try to extend our hand in whatever way we possibly can to help them to become their best selves. Teachers, again, I'm going to say, if it is that we don't love them, we'll never be able to help them. We'll never be able to teach them. Parents, let us stop comparing them to other children, and let us stop thinking, oh, but the girl out there, Sophia, baby, I do this, and I'm out there, Sophia, baby, I do that, and my baby, not that. Let us take them as they are and move them along. They'll go at a slower pace, I believe, than other children their age, but it doesn't make them less of a person. Read, read, read. Research, research, research on your child's condition, because every day more and more new research has come about these disabilities. And if we're in the dark, we will never know how to effectively treat these disabilities. Seek the assistance you need. Sometimes it will get frustrating because people are going to shun you and it's going to seem as if you're just not getting anywhere, but don't let up. Keep pressing on, because that one child you may never know is a child that will make a difference in all our lives. We may see them as a child now, but who will they become in the future? And as the songwriter quickly pens it, that the children are the future and we need to teach them how we want them to be later in life. So just help them to own their skills. whatever the skills are. And let me just use this opportunity to say everybody's not going to be a bookie. Some people are going to be hands-on people. And let us look around us to see that many of the book jobs, not going anywhere now, but those people with the skill sets, those are the ones making the bag of money. So let us help them to own their craft and be the best person they could ever be. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll go. I want Moya to go last so that she can be a great impact. So, things I wanted to, one of the persons that I listened to, one of the things that he has said is that what we are ignorant in, we will suffer in. And I honestly believe that we have to, as teachers and as educators and as advocates and parents, we have to educate ourselves. And I think we have said that quite a bit tonight. We have to educate ourselves. As parents, we have an accountability. As teachers, we are also accountable as well. So to really educate ourselves about what is going on with our child, and advocate for our child. Sometimes as parents, sometimes we feel like we don't want to speak up, even though I don't think in Jamaica we have that problem. We might not want to say anything. People are gonna look upon me a weird or whatever it is. But just know that this is your child. And if you don't speak up and if you don't advocate, if you don't do something, nobody else more than likely is going to do it. So really advocate for your child. We have a responsibility. So let us take that responsibility seriously. We, as teachers, we can't go to work, we get with paycheck, we're miserable about the paycheck, we want more money. And so we are doing the bare minimum of what we think we are supposed to do. But one of the things I look at is, if this was my child, if this was my niece, if this was my friend's child, how would I want that teacher to treat my child? And I would want that teacher to let me know something is going on. I would want that teacher to do the extra mile. So as teachers, as educators, let us do that, because honestly, when we look back as far as history, education was something that as Blacks, and is not just in America or wherever, even in the Caribbean, we all come from way back where slavery was an issue. And education was something that we did not have the opportunity to get. And now we have that opportunity. So let us give our children an opportunity to do well. When you go in the classroom, as growing up and seeing other people in our neighborhood and seeing that they did not get that opportunity, they did not get the education that they needed. And so even though they were smart, even though they had the skills, because they didn't get it, know them not have the job, know them just a walk, a bounce boat. Let us give our children an opportunity. Because honestly, when you look at it, we are the ones who are going to benefit. We said the children are our future. Let us act like it as educators and as parents. Let us do what we need to do. And I've said before, I went to Tulla Primary School. I went to West Prospect Basic School. I went to St. Mary's College. Then I went to Chartwood. My hands, I am willing and ready. I just want somebody to give me an opportunity to come back to Jamaica and really give back, because I'm here and I'm giving to a country. And I would like to give back to mine. Know that I have the skills, I have the knowledge. I want to give back to mine. I would love to. I mean, on my job, when they had materials, excess materials, I asked for those materials, testing materials, intervention materials. I asked for all of that because I ship it to Jamaica. I'm ready, I'm willing and ready to come and help my people, my kids, because we want children to be our future. Let's act like it. So I just really want to encourage all of us who are here after this is said and done to not just let it end here, but let there be action behind our words.
So somebody asking for your contact. I think it's, what's that? Somebody said Tolo Primary would welcome you and said Catherine Prep would welcome you. But I'm sorry to say she come into Yorktown Primary first, and then you guys can have her.
I have nothing to say.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So Moya, it's over to you. But guys, don't worry, she can share. And your day don't have to be my day, and my day don't have to be your day. She can share, trust me. So don't worry it. If you want to talk to her number or whatever, or send that email, you can just stay back after.
And it's not just me either. It's not just me.
Team.
I have a team of people who are willing to come to give the support, who are either from Jamaica or from other Caribbean countries, who are willing to come in to give that support.
Somebody else naming a school, Woodford Primary and Infant School. Don't worry, guys. Just you want help, just stay back a little. Moya, let's go, darling, so we can shut this down because we've been having a good time.
Again, good evening again, everybody. I just want to, so speaking to the parents, we can't say it enough. Be very keen and attentive to your child. The information about the development milestone of your kids, they're all online. I would agree that Ministry of Health doesn't do enough, because the passport book, I use it, but it doesn't cover all the areas. I recognize issues in the challenges in my child by just reading tirelessly online, having apps about milestone and development, the percentile that you should be in, and the percentile is important because yes, there are some kids that develop later than others, but the percentile is really important. Is he falling below 50%? Is he in the 30%, 40, 20% in certain areas? So the information are online. We have to educate ourselves, because yes, the resources are lacking, and it is not just in Jamaica alone that the resources are lacking. The resources are lacking across the world. The world does not understand autism and its effects on learning disabilities. The world doesn't completely understand learning disabilities as yet as well, because of the brain is so complex. So we have to educate ourselves. The resources are there. I've done behavior therapist for my son, but it is very costly. I have to pull him out. But what I took from the time that I spent there with him, I mean, mark it as parents, you're not allowed in the session, but I've done research upon top of research, find ideas online, which I do implement at home. I try to teach him things at home. When he wasn't saying, well, he still doesn't even greet people the way that he's supposed to greet him. Most person meet him on the first time, I say that he's ill-mannered because he's not going to say hi, good morning. So I have to lead that. I have to say, Alex, say hi to Auntie Venice, say good evening to Auntie Venice, or I just go and say, good evening, Auntie Venice, and he will follow. So little things you can do. His speech was delayed. I worked on it. I started working on it. I spoke to his doctors about the different issues, the countless issues that I was facing with him. And the doctors were saying, but he's fine, he will develop later, whatever. And I'm like, maybe I am just an overachiever, but I saw that you can't have a child at 3 and only me alone understand him when he talks. That don't make no sense. Right. And I recognize that his speech was delayed from very early. He didn't, when he was 1, he wasn't talking. What Nordia had said earlier about the dancing, I like dance to music for the first time at age 4 going to 5. And I had recorded everything and I was in tears because it's the first time my son was dancing. You have kids that stand up in front of television when they are very young, when they're just standing and holding on to things and they're dancing. Alec didn't do that. That's an indication that something is different about him, something is going on with him. So we have to be very attentive when our kids that are developing at a very early age. And the resources are there. There are countless information online that can help you to support your child. The speech therapists in Jamaica, they are one in few. They're very expensive and they're very limited. And in my case, Alec will not be considered an urgent situation, because you have, the truth is you do have kids who are in worst of situation, and those kids are going to be prioritized, which rightfully so, because there are things that we as parents can do to assist our child. Microcare, yes, the waiting is long, and it's the same thing. You do have a lot of kids that are significantly far off than ours, but we have a role to play as a parent. We can do the research, we can implement the things at home, we can just adapt. We have to change our mindset as parents as well when we're thinking about our kids and the development of our kids, that participate in that school event, go to the school, talk to the teacher. When the teacher tells them, no man, him all right, give them example. Miss, why you give, so miss, okay, since it is that is okay, send home less homework because him can't finish the homework on time. Right now, the arrangement with Alec teacher and I is that Alec not going to complete all his homework in the evenings because he just can't, and it has nothing to do with him being slow or anything like that. It's just the challenge that he's having to complete a task. And so we have to, you have, as can't say it enough, and every forum that you go in, parents, you're going to be encouraged to lobby for your children, advocate for your children, because if you don't, they are just going to be left behind, and we don't want that. And the reality is that the resources is lacking internationally, because it's just not a clear situation to a lot of the professionals. We don't understand it 100%, and the professionals are also limited. And the fact that they are limited, the resources just not going to be there. But the information are coming out more and more. The information are being shared online. And the other thing, do not blame yourself. If you're unable to do what is required, seek help from parents like myself, because I know of a lot of persons with kids with autism or learning disabilities, and we exchange information, we exchange pointers. This is happening to my son. Okay, I'll go and try it. Let me see if it will work for mine. So we exchange information. Even when I was getting over the denial of Alex's autism, is by talking to another autistic parent, and they were telling me about the same situation. I was like, really? And I'm here sitting, and the doctor did tell me, the doctor did say your child is on the spectrum. And I was like, no. But with talking to other parents, they give you insights, and you're comforted to know that it's not you alone, and it is not you alone in the situation. So speak up, and don't be afraid, don't be ashamed to speak up or talk, ask for the help and talk to people. You're not asking for it for pity, because a lot of time I hear this is that because your child has special needs, you're going to be pitied, or they're going to get special treatment. Trust, they're not going to get special treatment more than the other kids, and you're not seeking pity, you're seeking help for your child. Because without that help and that support, they're just going to be lost in the system. They're going to be lost as a person. And another thing that we need to be very much aware of is the implication that it has on their emotional and their mental state. My child was suicidal because of this, everything that was going on in his little mind. He didn't understand it. I was trying to figure it out. He was suicidal. He had to see a psychiatrist. And we just have to, we can't, the denial that I was in may be a contributing factor, and other environmental issues that cause you to second guess your choices and what you think or feel. Go with your gut feeling. Nothing like a parent or a mother's gut feeling. Go with your gut feeling. Don't pay attention to the noise, what everybody else is saying about your child or about you, or about the fact that you're so needy because this is happening. You're not needy. You see a situation, you need to address it, and you do whatever it takes to get the assistance necessary for your child. Support your child, support your children, because that support goes a long way. That is what is helping me, because the resources is lacking for me as well. It is very expensive. I am waiting for Micro as well, because I want to redo his educational assessments. As I said, I have a court case that you were supposed to prioritize my assessment for Alec, and it is I'm still waiting. So regardless of the situation, everybody is in this space, but without the assessment, whatever you see whatever you see in your child that you think needs some attention, pay attention to it. Don't be ashamed, don't be fearful, pay attention to it. And another thing, anything that you see, talk to your doctor. Sometimes the doctors are in denial too, but just keep on telling them, you said that this would have changed in 6 months, it's still there. What you have to say about that? How can we deal with this? Talk to them, because they will say, it is mild. That's what Alec pediatrician said. It is mild. The other day she was like, Mommy, I'm so proud of him. He has improved so much. And I was in my mind, I'm thinking, you wouldn't even imagine the amount of work I have to do. to improve it. But at the same time, Cheryl around, I know she's helping in terms of getting the letters to get the assessment done, etc., etc. But you have to speak to the doctors, because without the doctors, these assessments, they won't be done, because they need the doctors first to identify, say, yes, there's a possibility, there's that issue. So the doctor have to write the referral. So you have to talk to the doctor and to get the doctor on board to see what you are seeing. And that's it. There's lots more to say, but the support is what is more vital for the kids than anything else. For us parents to pay attention and to be that supportive background for them, you have to advocate and lobby for them.
Right there. I don't know how many are hear the passion, feel the passion, but trust me, there is a passion. And trust me, I guess that's the kind of passion that you need to have to get your kids through this. And one of the things that she touched on that I often worry about them is their emotional. I am still in touch with some of my boys that I had in grade 6. And, you know, this is my last 2 cents. I've seen where just talking to them, just being there for them, I couldn't help them otherwise. I just had to get the help outside. But then I encourage them that you can still be anything that you wanted to be. Tell me what it is that you want to be. And I said, look here. So this is what we're going to do. And we're talking about grade 6. I said, we're going to learn to read as best as possible, because nobody's going to steal your money. When you sign in contract, if it's truck you're driving, you have to can check your money to know the load. So we're working with these things. And so I encourage them. And so parents and teachers and educators and all of us out there, it's tiring. Parents, it's tiring, it's tiresome. And so sometimes we just feel like throwing the towel. But here we are this evening, we can't. We have to tackle the tough truths about these disabilities, because they are real. And they're in our children's life, whether they're your student, your cousin, your friend, daughter, brother, sister, whoever, they're there and they're real. Look like we have to have a part 2 where we have a practical thing where you can get practical stuff to actually. So this was a theory session. So we already get the theory session. So the next session, guys, on tackling the tough truths about learning disability will be a practical one. All right. So I want to say a big thank you. Big thank you to my panelists. Moya, oh God, you spoke from your heart. We felt it, darling. And I hear some person say, Mrs. Winterford here saying, Moya, I need to talk to you. So there you go. You need somebody to talk to. And there are other persons. Yeah, man. So see somebody say, please, part 2, ready for part 2. Yeah, we're all ready for part 2. So we'll have the practical side of things. So Jermika and Nardia better get the books working quickly and start planning out the practical part so we can have part 2 come next year or our month year end, because we're still halfway. I want to also thank Jermika. I know you're busy. I know it's crazy for you. I know you have the boys doing this and all of that, but you took the time out to come. Thank you very much. Nordia, I know it's way past your bedtime because you guys are an hour ahead and the girls probably waiting on you already, But I thank you so much. And it was so good. Miss Davis, who kept falling off and coming on, she was so excited to give you guys some info, but she fell off. And it seems as if she's having some technical difficulty. I thank her. And trust me, she'll be here for part 2 because she has some very practical, cheap ways of getting it done. And so, guys, you're going to get that in the next session. I want to share with you guys that Nordia has a podcast that actually helps parents, teachers, all of these persons. So I don't know if we can get that link to drop in the chat so they can also check it out. Yes, she has a podcast, so you can go. It's to help with these things. And so, guys, I want to say thank you, my audience. Thank you so much for being here. The conversation, nice and hype. Somebody saying part 2 on child diabetes. That's something else that we need to chat, but we need to get somebody from the ministry to say what they're doing for these kids. But it's a world out there with so much more information to give to people, to share with people. And that is what we are here about, to help each other. Yes, it's on YouTube. So if you missed it, or if your friend missed it, or if you want to go rewatch it to get the information, it's there. Mr. Stewart will drop the link. And there are other things on the channel that might entertain you and impress you. There are relationships, thing on it, you can go and check it out. There's Youth to Youth Connection. Go and check out the channel, guys. It's there. So we'll drop the podcast, the link for the pod. Nardia, you want to tell them when the podcast happens before I give the giveaway and say good night?
So the podcast is Pro Access to Education. So on my podcast, I talk to different individuals, parents, teachers, different individuals, just on different areas of parenting, education, navigating the education system. So if you Google it, you should be able to find it.
All right, there it
Yeah,
is.
Bernita just
In the
dropped it.
chat, so you can click on it so you can get it. All right. So, oh, Simoya saying she got some pointers from Nadia's podcast. So, Nadia, I think working. Yes, it's working. So, thumbs up to you. All right, guys. So, this is where we are going to say good night. But before we say good night, I want the first person who can raise their hand. Mr. Stewart, could you please help me and my panelists to see which hand goes up first? I want whoever first can name at least three learning disability mentioned earlier. Oh my. Karen. All right, Karen, let's hear you and let's see if you're correct.
Okay, so we have dyslexia, we have dysgraphia, and we have dyscalculia.
All
Dyscalculia.
right. Awesome. So you have what I want you to do is message me in the chat privately, and then I'll send you some digital credit. So that one is for you. Congrats to Karen, who just won her digital credit. All right. And the next question. Oh, wow. Which one of our presenter is also an author? Really, Shakira? Go right ahead. Who is the author? Shakira?
Jermika.
And the buzzer went off. It's so incorrect. So let's move over to Kaveen. Go ahead.
It's Nardia.
And the buzzer went off again, and Shakira still wants to respond. Go ahead.
Is you, Cassia. Is you.
Me? I don't put pen to paper yet to send the book out there. It's in the making. Go, Shakira, you still have your hand up?
Is the person who got dropped off?
No, they are not supposed to be responding.
But that's a clue.
Ione, I'm not sure if Shakira took her hand down. So watch her face. Shakira, did you take your hand down and put it back up? No, I don't think so. I don't think you took your hand down. So I'm going to give it to Ione. Ione, who do you say? Mr. Stewart, could you free up Ione? Who? Who Ione said?
Moya.
And the buzzer went off again. And this seems like it's a guessing game. Karen, I'm going to skip over you because you look like you've been listening attentively. Renito, let's try. Renito, you can't win nothing right now. Because this does not apply to you. You don't live here. But then I'll give you an opportunity. Go ahead, sir. Wait, Shakira. Renito.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to Miss Davis.
It is Miss Davis. And you would have won a flow credit. I don't know.
I'm going to give Shakira my credit.
You're going to give Shakira your credit?
Yeah.
All right, Shakira, I do hope you have a flow phone. Renita got that one correct for you. Yes, I see you rejoicing. And yes, so where's my pencil? I need to write the names. Mr. Stewart, I hope you're taking notes, please. So Karen should get the digital, Shakira should get the flow. Please take notes. And the final one is that I am just going to be reading out the number. It's another digital one. So please put *121 on your phone and let's go. Are you ready? Let's go. 546-537-09-62740. If you get it, raise your hand. Nobody got it? My. Oh, Mrs. Burnett Johnson got it. Congratulations, Mrs. Burnett Johnson. And I hope you enjoy that credit. Yes. So guys, we have come to the end of a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you again, everybody. And we will do this soon before the year ends for part 2. So stay tuned for part 2 of tackling the tough truths about learning disability. Have yourselves a good night.
And thank you too, Ms. Stewart, for this opportunity to inform parents, teachers, and everybody else.
You're welcome, my dear.
You too. Thank you too. Have a good one.
You have a good one.